we have lots to accomplish today. First on the agenda is put Mr. Nally. Well, I put the representative, but he's not here yet. So let's talk to Mr. Nally and see what information he gathered for us regarding bond rates and borrowing. You're up, Mr. Nally.
Well, thank you. I prepared a handout for everyone here, except I only have 8 copies because that was the number I was given.
That was the number you were given.
I'll share my.
I'll share.
Let's go.
They also just run upstairs really quick.
So as an update, the most recent information I have for reoffering rates for bonds is for January. And depending upon the bond with the credit rating, bond rating of municipalities or Commonwealth, the average true interest cost of TIC is typically between 3.5% and 4.5%. Now, I don't know what the bond market has done this past February. However, for budgeting purposes, I prepared a chart here representing interest rates from 5 to 7%. There's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, we're not sure exactly. Currently, our bond rating for the town is AA minus, which is pretty good. However, I think they were due to be calculated or rated probably within the time frame we would be issuing a bond here. So that number could go up or down. So I think to be conservative in terms of what the interest rate might be on a bond, like I said, I did scenarios ranging from 5 to 7%. Based upon the information I obtained from you folks, the amount of the bond could be anywhere from $6.5 to $8 million. So I prepared the analysis for 20-year issuance, again between 5 and 7%. So I could calculate the approximate annual debt service. And that number ranges from $521,000 up to $755,000, depending upon the amount, obviously, of the interest rate. I was able to contact Mr. Martin this morning to obtain the total town valuation, which currently is at $1,050,321,304. We take that to calculate the tax rate. The tax per 1,000 would be respectively in the columns 50 cents through 72 cents per thousand. I was unable to get a median value for the average house in Granby as of today. So I constructed the chart from 150,000 all the way up through 450 to give a good range. So the block diagram at the bottom shows, for example, at 6.5 million at 5%, 20 years, a house worth 150,000, the annual tax additional burden would be $74.49. Contrast that to the highest valuation they show, 450,000 for a house. So the tax burden would be $223.46. In my view, any of those ranges are very reasonable in terms of the project you're trying to accomplish here. Likewise, going all the way to the end, $8 million at 7%, the maximum rate of $450,000 value for your house would be $323.53.
And so you're saying that would be the highest
That would be the highest.
percentage, 7%.
Yeah, I think that realistically, what would happen is we would probably end up with a true interest cost of around 4%. Is what I really think would happen. Because there's no significant issues that I can think of that would reduce our bond rating. The only thing we'd be subject to is the market rate. And right now, municipal bonds are still pretty strong in terms of low interest rates. But again, the last thing you would want to do is underestimate what the cost might be and then get a whole bunch of people mad at you.
I'm just looking at the, so the 8 million would be if we don't get free cash or money from the municipal building stabilization.
I think it would be higher than that.
Right, that's,
Depending on the option, the total full in value of the program as we are now is somewhere north of 60.
Well,
So if we've got 6.5 or 6.7, whatever, already approved, your difference would be closer to 10 million than it would be to 8.
Right.
right, okay. So we had 15, how it was presented last week was, option A is 15.6 million.
Yeah.
Then you take out the 5.9 million. And then we plan on asking for 1 million from free cash and 1 million from stabilization, which drops it to a total ask of 6.7 million. So the only way you go higher than the 6.7 is if we don't get the free cash or the municipal stabilization.
I understand.
Right.
So I don't even think we're gonna, it'd be a little higher than 8 million then if we don't get those, but
Well, we can extrapolate
Yeah.
this chart how many numbers we like, but my understanding, based upon the presentation we made to the Board of Selectmen last week, was good things. That the amount of additional borrowing you'd have to do would be in the range of $6.5 to $8 million. Maybe I misunderstood, but that's what I.
Yeah, because it's the 14.4 plus the 1.2 is how we reached the 15.6.
right,
Right.
right. Then we take out the 5.9
Right.
and the,
Right.
um, 20 years is the normal.
If you go 25 years, we could actually do 50 years, but that would be insane. My recommendation certainly would be to do a 20-year bond. All right, now, if it came down to really, really tight numbers, you could consider a 25-year bond. Now, keep in mind that's the treasurer's responsibility to determine the length of the bond. But it's always cheaper for a shorter period of time.
Okay.
And if we borrow and it gets paid off sooner,
Well, it wouldn't be paid off sooner. Well, yes.
If we got grants,
If we
and
got a
if-
whole ton of money.
Yeah.
We could pay it down, certainly.
and then it would come off.
But the process would not be, I would go out to the bond market right now. Let's say the number was 6.5 million, borrow $6.5 million in a bond and have the money sitting around until you expend all those funds. We would most likely use up the available cash first as the project goes on. Towards probably at least halfway through, perhaps 3/4 of the way through the project, and we start running out of money, I would probably issue bond anticipation notes, which is a short-term borrowing, basically, to make up the cash flow requirements to complete the project. And once the project is completed, then go out to the bond market. Is typically what's done.
So then you don't borrow any extra, you borrow what you
Oh,
exactly
yeah, I
need.
can borrow extra.
Right. But if we borrowed 8 and it only cost us 7, then we can't pay that back early, but we can, the way you're doing it, we would only borrow the 7.
That's not the correct way of thinking about it.
No, okay.
I would borrow money, use up funds to pay the bills as they come in. And then, once I ran out of the available funds that we currently have, whether it's free cash source or, stabilization fund or whatever, I would borrow as we need it. So let's say the total project comes in, I don't pick a number, $10 million. All right. And we currently have, with all the other funding that we have currently, that's subject to approval, obviously. But let's say we get all the free cash and building stabilization funds and all that business. And let's say that we have to borrow $6 million, okay? But the $6 million, you can't borrow more than that. Only authorized by town meeting to borrow the maximum amount. But if the project comes in lower, I wouldn't borrow as much.
Right, that's what I was trying to say. I don't think I worded it the way you just did, but that's what I'm saying. So if we said we needed 8 and we didn't, at the end, we only had 7, then you'd bond 7. And
That's right.
This number would be even less than what people.
That's exactly. So this is the outside.
This is the worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, yes.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nally. That was very helpful.
Again, very informative.
Okay. Again, too, the advantages of delaying the issuance of a bond is likely, in my view, that interest rates are probably going to drop over the long term, year or 2 years from now. So, do you have an idea when this project is going to be completed?
We're pushing for March of 25.
Six.
No, 26.
26, March of 26.
I know.
Yeah.
We're like 25. That's great. We all just, we all just stressed out there for a second.
And Tim almost got.
Chair, I would expect that the bond market would drop in 1 year's time. The other thing too is we could use the fact of not waiting, or waiting until the project is at completion or near completion, and use short-term financing to do this. I probably could negotiate with the bank, you know, a 3 or 4% short-term financing up until that year. So we'd even save more money. So my point is, I just want to make sure that you understand this is the worst case scenario, the gentleman pointed out. And it's better to be conservative and look right at the end than having to go back to town meeting to appropriate additional funds. That is not gonna happen. I don't think.
Great.
So at any rate, if you refine your numbers and you need me to recalculate this, I can also have more current information because the reoffering reports will be available shortly. In other words, indicating what the market has been over last month. We can further refine this, but I would caution you not to say that even though we might get a 4% bond, I would not budget that way.
But to 5 or higher.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
maybe even if we could project this out a couple 100,000 more,
Right.
you know, 550 and
I
650.
think the median house,
550 and 60, I mean.
The price of a
And
house.
the house.
Yeah, these valuations,
So the evaluations would go up and the,
the 72 cents.
the amount per thousand would go down. Because
The amount per thousand changes only by the percent of the note, okay? The rate is based upon what the valuation of the house is.
I understand that, but if you're using a number of 150,000.
Right. I picked a number
These numbers are what you're getting
at that rate,
that rate.
that rate,
So-
that amount, that rate, and that term.
So if the median rate is 450 or 400,
Which it could very well be, you're right.
the price per year would stay the same. The percentage would go down.
No,
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
If this number ends up being 750,
all right, so we'll add those two numbers together is what you get. Total cost annually.
correct. So, which means that actually goes down a little bit.
No. This number is based upon this number and that number.
Yeah.
So that number won't change.
the 72 cents.
The 72 cents
On the-
won't change.
per
Only
thousand?
50 cents won't change because that number is based upon the annual debt service, the amount borrowed, interest and principal, obviously, together with the interest rate. Or the, interest rate. So that number doesn't change. The only thing that changes down here is if you pick 750 as your example, it would be 750 times that, divided by 1,000. So in your example here, 350, no, it doesn't come up to 750.
Well, but the debt rate annually is here.
No, yes, that number, that doesn't change.
That doesn't change.
That doesn't change, percent
But-
doesn't change,
but-
but this number is based upon these numbers up here. Okay, so if you say that the median value is, let's use $800,000 to make it simple. I hope my reading is not 800,000, but who knows? Then simply put, it would be the total of 251.64 together with 323.53 to get to $800,000 home value.
Mm.
Okay,
So Chief, what you're saying is build these out.
A little further, so people can
Yeah.
look at their taxes
Yeah.
and see what their valuation is, and they'll then have a real number.
To know that
Their taxes are gonna be increased.
if we're borrowing 6.5, or
Right.
bonding
yeah, so everyone could
6.5,
look at, oh, my house I know is worth
Okay.
$600,000.
and it's only
Look
gonna.
here and,
And I wasn't one.
Right.
I can write these down monthly.
Okay.
Well, you can do that, you can say that after the fact, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, if it's less, what 323 is less than $30 a month.
So
I already did, it was 27 for the 8 million at the 7%. It's actually 27 a month, and then for the 5% at 450 is $18.
well, I think that you should do it per day because it's cheaper than Starbucks.
Don't get right.
It's just, it's visualizing that. You're right.
Exactly.
It's a
Yeah.
scary number. Six
Yeah.
million is a lot of money,
It is true.
but it's really, when you break it down
Yeah.
in this way, it's much more
In
manageable.
my view, it's a very feasible, reasonable price to have a new building. You know, I think that,
Renovated building.
well, it's gonna be new when it's done, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
New to you.
No, I think that.
Neil agrees with that.
I don't think that the numbers should really be a detriment to funding this project. Because if somebody is in a situation where using the other end of the stick here, let's say my house is $250, $124 a year, in a heartbeat.
That's gonna get a community center and a municipal
Exactly.
building. I understand.
So, you know, just let me know. I can extend this chart whatever way you want. If you want to do it monthly or daily or whatever, we can do that too. I can help you with your marketing campaign, let's say. And again, I was not able to get a median value on the assessors yet, but hopefully that number will be. That's it.
Great. That was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else I can do for you folks?
What is it?
I said, is there anything else I can do for you?
No, but I think we'll reach out when we're ready to get us, yeah.
You know where I live.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. It's
All
a
right.
lot of information.
Representative Gomez.
How you doing?
Hello. You're up.
This is
Awesome.
Come on down.
Thank you, Mr. Nally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, it will be Mr. Nelson.
Oh,
I know. I know.
It's so hard to.
all right, good luck. It's nice to see you. I suppose we let you know.
Thank you very much.
Sir, how are you?
Good to know. The treasurer supports.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
Hello, Representative Gomez. Nice to meet you. This is our West Street Building Committee. And we invited you to today's meeting to give you an update of what we're doing in our town. And unfortunately, what we thought was going to be 5.9 million 2.5 years ago has escalated due to varying circumstances to an additional 6.9 million. And that's with help from our municipal stabilization fund and free cash. And it's still a large number. And we're now hoping to find some help from you, perhaps. Grants, obviously, we're looking at. But so I wanted to invite you to our meeting and explain to you what this vision is of this municipal. So what we're doing is we have an old building in town, the West Street School Building, which has been vacated for 6 years now. And so about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, some citizens came to the select board and said, this building's sitting here, it's empty, we're heating it, we're maintaining it. Can we revisit using that building? And several years ago, a committee was put together to look at raising the building, renovating the building, and building new, any of those options. And years ago, it was suggested to raise it and build 2 new smaller buildings to push municipal offices into one and a COA into the other. And back then, it was approximately 10 million to do that.
2018.
In
was the
2018,
original.
right. So the select board charged a new committee to look at that again, so we could start getting our municipal offices into one building, because right now we're split into 2 buildings, and this is the current COA that you're sitting in. And so our committee did some due diligence, had various subcontractors come in and give us some quotes as to what it would cost to renovate the building versus raise the building. In the long run, it turned out that we thought we could renovate the whole building for 5.9 million. And that was with adding contingency numbers in there for things that we didn't get quotes for, like HVAC or, so the select board allowed us to bring to town meeting. Town meeting agreed to the 5.9 million. And then from that point on, we've hired an OPM and an architect to do the schematics and the due diligence at that point. And here we are at the end of that, and a little shocked or surprised, or maybe not, because it's been 2 years. It takes a long time to do all these in-depth studies. That it's now in total for half the building. Like we were going to do the whole building, but now we're down to half the building. 11.5 million to just do half the building.
And you said that you guys are using stabilization account and.
Well, we have to, so when we brought these new numbers to the select board last week and said, okay, so here's what happened after we did our schematic design, after we did our buildings condition reports, we've come up with 3 options. 11.5, which is doing everything that we want to do. 9.9, which is a value engineering type, take some things out, use lower quality items, but still up to par. And then taking away the COA, taking away the gym, taking away the cafeteria, bringing it down to 8.1. And then we'd go to the town and ask them, we know we have $1 million in the stabilization fund. So will you allow us to take out $1 million to drop this number? And then we know we have 2 million in, well, we don't know that yet, it hasn't been certified.
Gosh.
Yeah, but we would ask for $1 million in free cash to lower these numbers. So the lowest we can get these numbers without going out to bid yet, because that's starting in the next 8 weeks.
Few months,
Yeah.
beginning of May,
And
essentially.
then there's another 6-week process for the bids to come in. We can lower these prices by approximately 6 million. With the free cash and the stabilization fund. And hopefully the bids will come in lower than what,
You can reduce that.
yeah, knock on wood, they could come in
Mhm.
higher too.
Sure,
Um,
especially where everything is happening.
Right,
Mhm.
so that's where we are. Anybody want to jump in?
Before anyone jump in, anyone talk to Dan before I get elected? And the other question, you guys talk to Mindy? If not, I will talk to her.
So we did.
Page.
Yes, so originally, we walked through the building with, Mindy wasn't there, who,
Was Dan?
Dan Carey.
Dan Carey.
Yep, and Jake Olivera.
Jake, is in the room?
yeah, and, but that was the very beginning of the project. We told them our vision and they were all for it and said, when you need the money, give us a call.
Sure.
Here we are. And you came.
Call Dan.
I know, right? Mindy couldn't come tonight, but she said
That's
that,
I just wanted to be sure that.
yeah, she said that,
with her.
yeah, that you, the two of you would coordinate.
Right.
And I don't know about Senator.
I will talk to her.
Yeah. Oh, well, we
Uh,
sent him oh, you will talk to him. Oh, yeah. So, but like we know there's other towns in the area, well, there, I know specifically one town who was able to procure not only a rural development grant, which we are going to apply for, but also some federal funding. Who was it?
Cummington?
Yeah.
Cummington.
It is coming in, but it's not Rich and Yale, it's regardless. So they got some big money from,
Over?
yes. So they got big money federally. And their project isn't even started.
They're not even at their schematics yet. They're not at anything. They're literally just starting to hire an OPM.
Mhm.
And we're beyond.
And we've done all this work and we are so gung ho to get it done. And now, now it's up to the town to decide. And anything we can do to lower this cost for the town will get it to pass more heartily.
And the other piece of this too, we're not just doing this for a luxury.
Yeah.
We've got departments spread out in lease space that the lease is running up on. We've got this space that is, we don't have adequate space to house our offices, so it's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Right. If it doesn't go through when we have our special town meeting in a couple,
And what is the vision about the new building? I mean, the building,
so the
the
big,
fix and everything, what is the vision there? Who's gonna be there?
so all the municipal offices will be there.
So police, fire,
We have a public safety complex. Yeah,
All the town hall functions, so
You mean
the
the
town
COA?
administrator.
Yes.
Yep, town administrator, town clerk, building department, planning, conservation commission.
So like a town hall kind of?
Basically, it's
Yeah.
gonna be the town.
Including the COA?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, because currently we're spread out.
Sure.
Yeah.
And eventually we hope to open up the other half of the building and make it more of a community center. We want to have our town meetings in that building. We want to have a teen center in that building and even possible spaces for business incubators to rent out. So,
Right.
Community
The other
closer.
things
oh,
We're lacking is where we hold our elections. We're holding them in our schools right now. This would give us the opportunity to do our elections there and prove it. The early election and all the others. All
yeah,
of
our schools are locked down 175 days a year because when we have town elections or, you know, if the schools aren't aware of the timing, they have school and puts a burden on the police department to try to make sure that we get safe and, you know,
And thinking as for shelters, for like warm days and cooling days. Also, as
It
you were
will be
saying.
used for that too.
Yes.
that's the whole.
And
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
community kitchen for like somebody needs a serve safe area to do a project for their organization. This would be a safe location for them to do it. So it's a huge community thing, not just
Municipal.
one.
So I'm asking like,
Yeah.
what is the vision about the whole building? Like who's gonna be there and what is gonna be the purpose for the community as a whole?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it'll be all the municipal offices moving in and the COA. And then, the community kitchen that we're hoping for would be part of the rural development grant. And
A question, what's gonna happen with this building?
Would sell it, so we go back on the tax roll.
And then the other building that we use, we're renting, and we're gonna lose that rental
June
agreement
30th.
in June.
well, again, if we can use those funds and Steve says we do a short-term loan, maybe we note this, whatever we get for this, again, knocks that bond number down.
Right.
and,
Right.
You know, every little bit helps to lower that monthly payment for the taxpayer. We all get it.
But it's hard, you have to go to town meeting with a number, and we don't have we have a high number, but,
Mhm.
but you're right, when we sell this building, it'll be deducted, and so,
Sure, no, maybe you don't have to convince me
Yeah.
to do it. Something is going through this similar process, not to bring all the departments, but then you have no COA. It's really bad and reading all that building the seniors are using.
where's that?
East Hampton,
Oh,
you're representing Southampton, Hampton, Honey.
mm-hmm,
I would say that, I mean, all right, that this is an easy sell for me.
and I can send you whatever information you need,
You send me everything you have. That will, could be helpful.
Yeah.
So that way I can sit down with Jake and Mindy, all three together and try to get funds for this
that
project.
would be wonderful.
Do you feel there are funds out there that are available to
It
us?
has to be grants, but with the effort of Mindy and Senator Oliveira, we can be creative. We can sit down with leadership, sell this project. It is a good project for the community, and to see if we can get some money from the budget or earmarks or something like that. We can put in part of the budget. Again, I'm not promising anything.
Right.
It's going to be a start conversation with Jake and Mindy, and all three will be working hard to get some money.
We can certainly send you everything that you, more information. Would it be helpful if someone from the committee comes to sit with the three of you together?
That would be nice. If we can schedule a meeting, we all three together, be in the same page.
I mean, we hope for that tonight, but it's obviously you guys are very busy, so it's hard to get all three of you together.
Especially what's today, Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Yes, so it's tough. Like Mondays and Fridays, I told her Mondays and Fridays is the easiest for us.
Oh, huh, good to know.
Yeah. Every Monday.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So what would our time frame be to have some sort of a confidence of funding before we go to town meeting so that the town people would know.
I mean, I think the first thing that we should do is sit down with Jake and Mindy, all three together. And I can start that if you want.
Okay,
I can create a group and figure it out when it's gonna be the best time for all three to sit down together.
that'd be great.
Is a Zoom meeting an option, just in case?
Is what?
As a Zoom, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, it would be Granby Zoom, right? Wouldn't it be
I mean,
Zoom?
we can create that too.
Yeah, they can create it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just asking everybody to feel okay.
Oh, yeah.
In case the senator or me is gonna be away. But I think that's the best thing that we can do. We can start with that meeting first.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
Friday.
that meeting should be, I know this Friday. But as soon as I get out here, I will text both and to schedule something as soon as possible.
Sure, and I'll get you some information, other than the letter that we wrote,
Sure.
tomorrow. I'll send it to your office,
Yeah.
to your email.
Do you have it?
Yeah, we have your email.
Someone had it?
Oh, yeah.
I'll take it again though, just to
Yeah.
confirm.
I told everybody, get your cell phone out and open the camera and scan the.
There you go, scan the UV. There.
Yeah, touch the screen, that way don't go.
I'm too far away. Sorry, I'm at the other end of the table. Okay, so we just had that's
Good.
our treasurer was here
That was the treasurer?
yes.
Yes.
We wanted to find out what the bond rates were, how long we would borrow for, and what it would actually cost people. Because they hear a big number and they get nervous. We've been hearing a lot of naysaying.
And do that bonding, you would have to do 2.5 override?
Yes, so we have to ask the town first and then go to debt exclusion vote.
Okay.
So it's 2 hurdles. So hopefully we pass the first one at town meeting and then the second one.
Now send me that as soon as possible, you say tomorrow. That
Yeah.
would be great. I'm gonna be in Boston tomorrow. I'm gonna contact Jake and Aminbi to schedule a meeting as soon as possible. I'm expecting that meeting can happen this week.
Perfect.
I'm gonna try, again, I'm gonna try to be Monday or Friday.
Mhm.
If they're free, Tuesday, I will do it Tuesday. But it's, I told everybody it's always easier for us on Monday or Friday.
All right, great.
Most of the time from Tuesday and Thursday, we have to be in Boston, so. It's fine.
You have to actually work.
I know. But what time is it? I'm here. No, but I will do that, I will.
Okay, and I'll send you stuff tomorrow.
And who wanna be in that meeting, everybody? Or
You need a
just-
subcommittee, I don't think you need everybody, do you?
Just let me know.
We'll probably do the subcommittee.
Subcommittee?
Sure, sure.
Okay, sounds good. We'll do that too.
Great.
Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
See ya.
You, have a good evening.
Introduce everybody. All right, slow things down.
That's promising.
I think that's very promising.
Yeah.
Okay. I,
Because you've
yeah,
heard it before.
I've heard it before, yeah.
Well,
Let's hope this is
no,
the
I'm not-
news
But we
story.
we very seldom get grant money.
We have to be on
Which is true.
at this point. We have to stay on.
Yeah,
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. No,
I agree, the timeline is tough.
Yeah,
before we have to go to town meeting.
That's.
right, that's
one
the
thing we-
punch of,
Yeah,
in terms of questions.
I sent you an email and I sent you the text.
So,
I don't have everybody's number, so.
it's speculated, it hasn't been confirmed. Well, it hasn't been published, I guess, that March 31st is the town meeting.
Okay,
It's either March 31st or April 7th. It could have been the 31st, it could have been the 7th, it could have been April 14th. If we want to piggyback on Kathy's voting March 19th, the annual meeting.
May 19th.
I'm sorry, May 19th, the annual town meeting of officers, the voting for officers. So in order to get on that election, so we don't have to spend money for our own election, it has to be the 7th, the 31st, or the 14th, and the 14th is really rough for Kathy. That gives her one extra day to get everything done that she needs to do with, so I think they chose the 31st, so we have
March.
So 20,
Yes.
days.
Mm.
Round numbers.
Although the warrant hasn't been signed, I haven't seen any warrant articles, but that is the email that I saw that went around, that, it's the 31st currently. All right, so I have one next on the agenda that we need to create a subcommittee for the pre-qualification of bidders. We already have our subcommittee for, that we did for the RFQs, for the OPM and the architects, so I would, suggest that we keep that subcommittee in place to do the pre-qualification of bidders.
I agree.
Any? No? Okay. We also need I would like to create a subcommittee for town meeting information. I need someone to volunteer to put together a flyer like we did last time, a pamphlet
I'll work on that with someone.
with it. With information,
To do a nice flyer, so
Yeah.
when people walk in, they can get handed that.
And have
Right.
facts instead
And
of fiction on there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one.
Well, that's why I'd like to see this expand a little bit, and people could see.
Yes.
what the
Yeah.
taxes are gonna
So they
be
can,
roughly.
yeah,
Steve will help us. But
so,
it's so
so,
funny.
so, yes, so I like a subcommittee put together to work on that because we have 20 days.
Okay.
So who volunteers for that subcommittee? And of course, I'll look over everything, but
I'll help you out.
so we have Steve, Dale. I was hoping Jen would be here. Micheline, you want to do it? You sure? And of course
I
you
do a
do.
lot of flyers, so it's not.
Of course you can,
Yeah, there you go. Very good ideas.
okay, thank you.
So when do you want like a first,
Brad.
rough copy of our flyer?
As soon as you guys can get together and get it done.
Okay, when's,
I mean, I can't imagine you need more than one draft.
okay,
We all look at it as a committee and,
A lot of it's already done. It
Right.
was actually put it together
Correct.
and have it informative.
yes,
Monday, the 10th,
What time?
whatever. I'm free.
See, Mondays are bad.
No, okay. Working.
Well, you-
We'll discuss it.
you pick that day afterwards. Tim, are you able to get us a rendering for town meeting of what the big, so you sent me that PDF and that ping and unfortunately she never used it.
Of the plan.
Mm.
Hmm.
Anyways, are you able to get a big one that we can put up on
Of
the
the-
easel?
The plan, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, well, the plan after we talked today about
Yeah.
what we're taking out and putting
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
a final rendition of what it's gonna look like.
So what do you, I guess the question is, if we're talking a rendering, what does the rendering want to be if we do like an actual view? Because unfortunately, given the nature of the project, there's not really like a money shot.
What about what you sent me?
Well, we can certainly do the plan.
Isn't that what else would it be? What's a money shot?
So like the pretty picture,
The one that sells.
the view of the building, so to speak. Do you need or want something like that?
we want something that's gonna sell the project.
Right. Well, and that's where I think honestly the reality of the matter is in terms of the way the building is and the nature of the project we're doing. To your point, doing a update of that plan, maybe we need to simplify it a little bit so that it is more legible. Because that was just cleaning up the copy I had that's really a 24 by 36 print, as opposed to something that could be presentable both on a poster and
Mm.
maybe on a
Mm.
flyer. And we can work on some sort of diagrammatic ways of doing that. Is that more what you're looking
Yes,
for?
I-
Because a plan and
I-
understanding the plan, I think, is probably what you're looking for, right?
I think from a marketing standpoint, what we've been looking at, but cleaned up.
Yeah.
Here's where the town clerk goes. Here's the TA goes. Here's a conference room.
Mhm.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah,
then we have-
boil it down
Yeah.
to more digestible parts.
Right.
Okay, because you guys know the minutia.
Right.
Other people won't.
But they don't really need to know the
They-
minutia. They just need to know where everything's going and what the, and
What we're accommodating.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's more by department and then shared space.
right.
right.
And then a rendering.
And then
of the
future
front of-
renovation.
And then a rendering of the front of the building showing more modern doors that are gonna be installed, more modern looking windows.
Yeah, what the windows were gonna look like with the spaces and everything that
Mhm.
we discussed,
Mm-hmm.
so they have an idea.
Neil, you're quiet.
In agreement.
Okay.
Front door, front entry.
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking. That's really the
Yeah.
only thing we can do is
Yeah.
take the building, modify the doors, modify the windows, clean it in terms of the look, because that's really what we're doing.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe, an interior rendering of the COA. Multi-purpose room, not necessarily the gym, but the other large space.
The cafeteria.
Yeah.
Cafeteria. Mm-hmm.
Because it is the seniors that are gonna be looking at this a lot.
So like, yeah, like.
They wanna know what they're gonna get, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is discuss value engineering measures
Yeah.
to include design with alternates and prioritization.
Mm-hmm. I've got a list. So one of them, I have a topic to discuss just before we get into a potential option. So based on the numbers you sent me, Dale and Natalie, with regards to parking here, working with the civil engineer, it looks like, generally speaking, we're somewhere in the realm of 45 to 50 average on the high end for use for parking for COA use. If we add on to that the employees and 5 to 10 visitors, which may be on the low end, maybe on the high end for the town hall use, we're somewhere more in the vicinity of plus or minus 70 vehicles potentially needing to be used or needing to park on an average day. Does that number generally make sense to everybody? Because if we do that, then we can essentially have the remainder of the parking, which would be your really outside events, so to speak, in terms of major events like potentially town meeting or voting, where you might have a lot more than that. It's essentially overflow parking at that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not consistent. So if that number, though, around 70 to 80 makes sense, then, or if it is a slightly different number, we can potentially add a little bit more paving on the west side of the school. So where the new entry is going, because to prioritize that for accessibility, for access, for senior center use, as well as for day-to-day town hall, then it starts to make sense and we can potentially look at 3 options essentially related to the parking lot that you currently have on the east side. One of which is to literally leave it as it is and do nothing.
Wait, we're talking about the circle? which one's the east?
So the back,
The backside?
backside
Backside?
Oh,
and the east spot.
Like where the pickup was back.
The pickup,
Yes.
yeah, the pickup truck in the dirt.
Yep.
okay.
Yep. So that whole side
Would stay as is.
could stay as is
Right.
one option.
For
So you do nothing,
Yeah.
just leave it as it is. Another would be to do minimum improvement, i.e. you do some crack sealing and maybe a top coat. And then the last would be to do more or less what we currently have in there, which is a resurface.
We could also ask at some point,
Let's do it.
town administrator, if we could have a highway department do it.
Yeah, that's what I was
Probably save
thinking.
a fortune.
Dave is one of the best in the state. And he is. I mean,
Right, I know they got a quote for the
Mhm.
cemetery and I know Dave did it for much less than what the quote
Mhm.
was.
Is he retiring soon?
No, he,
Okay.
3
He's
years.
got 3 years.
All right, we can get this done then.
Yeah.
If we keep it as is it safe?
Yeah,
Like the cracks aren't gonna trip anybody up?
not that I'm aware of.
Well, like, no, like out here,
No, you're
right?
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm just,
And we can obviously.
And it really wouldn't be used but for overflow.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the intent, is it would be for overflow.
For budgeting purposes, do we do the mid-grade and then
Do some
Yeah.
crack seal and,
Do the minimum
yeah,
improvement.
minimum.
I would
improvement.
improve it and
Right.
then
let's see what
at
they,
some later date,
Do a
discuss
full-
paving
Okay,
with the line, you know.
which that's still gonna be, it's a very large amount of square footage, so that's still gonna be a decent savings to do. So that was kind of the first one. It was a bit more involved because we needed to confirm numbers seemed okay with everyone for an approach. Some cost savings that I would recommend just from the standpoint of them just making sense to move forward based on our previous conversations. One is just move the gym from a gym floor to a VCT,
Yep, we said that.
which we had talked about before.
Yep.
Reduce the total window area, which
Yep.
we'll look at. Right now, we're looking at an option for a 30% reduction. Because as you know, in the classrooms in particular, essentially it's about 100% of the wall is glass right now. Remove the landscaping because you're going to do that yourselves.
there's a Pathfinder's talked about helping us out with
Yeah.
that.
Yep. And that was it in terms of things I just figured we should do and pursue. In terms of alternates. So this, I'll give you a list first, and then we can talk about one, which ones you think we should include, and then two, try to figure out at least a preliminary prioritization. Because for public bid, hopefully you all know this, but if not, I will lay it out. You have to accept them in order. You cannot choose 1, 3, 5. You have to do 1, then 2, then 3 in order that you have them laid out. So that's why it's critical to think about alternates when we get to the prioritization phase. One, in terms of what are the things where if you have the money, I absolutely want to do it. And two, from the standpoint of if you think the number may be close where it might absorb it, then maybe you put the smaller items first. So there are a couple of different ways to approach it and different angles to approach it from,
So when
but it needs to be somewhat strategic.
so when the bidding goes out, you put out a document that says A, alternate A1, alternate A2.
Yep.
And then all those bids come in
And you're
the
going to
committee
get a number.
decides, we didn't like the bid, so we're gonna go to bid alternate 1.
So
Go to bid
essentially,
alternate 2.
the way it'll work, and I'll give you an example from my list of possible alternates. This is maybe the easiest one to kind of peel out as a base, because the way it would go out is you are proposing a base bid and an alternate. So typically you're going to do it one of two ways. One is to do an additive, so an add alt, which would be to say base bid is don't do this, alternate is add this in. So one of the examples I have in here is the unoccupied portion of the building to abate that part of the building and to replace the windows. Base bid potentially can be don't do anything. You just leave it all as is. The add alt, so that would be the value to add that to the project, is to abate and to do the windows as well. So that's one alternate that I think just makes sense. The second would be the clear story windows in the gym, which could potentially be something we move into the category of let's just do it. Do we replace those windows with a cow wall system, which is a translucent window system? Because you don't want, if that's to be used as a gym, you don't want clear glazing there for glare. So the base bid, if we do all of these as add-ons, which essentially means that if you accept them, you add the cost in. So it means your base bid number is going to be the lowest number that you can possibly get. Then your base bid potentially would be, in this case, what I would recommend is we just pull the windows that are there because we need to for abatement and infill the wall with wall. And then your alternate would be to put in the window system.
Hmm.
Which the cow wall on its own, in terms of the differential between the cow wall and just wall, it's about 60 grand. Because there's a lot of square footage up in those windows.
And Cal wall is the
That's the
glass that's,
So it's a translucent system.
The non-glaring.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
so it's the glass that's
it's
not,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's what you want.
It's like frosted
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
white.
Yeah, you could. It would look very similar to what's up there now, except what's up there now looks like someone kind of cobbled it together themselves out of multiple layers of material.
maybe.
Possibility.
I don't know how exactly because it's not a window. It's basically they took corrugated, translucent, looks like fiberglass, and just put it over the opening, and then there's acrylic on the inside. I doubt you get any thermal value whatsoever from it right now.
But it sounded good 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It functions from a glare standpoint.
Mm.
Might be the only function it gives you.
All right, so those are,
So that's two so far.
that's two, so the first one's the abatement.
First
the
one
whole
would be the
building,
abatement of
which I know the select board said,
How soon do we have to make these decisions? I almost feel like I need to read these and then
I can send you this list and we
Okay.
can talk about it.
before we.
I would say
Talk about it afterwards, not.
right. No, and we can talk about it in more detail. And I honestly think from a prioritization standpoint, that's going to be likely more of a conversation that's going to develop as time goes on.
This was extremely decisive.
No, and I don't think we need to decide these things today.
Right.
We likely do need to have a decision in a couple weeks at the latest, but not today.
So you're gonna provide us with a,
Yeah, I'll
List
send
of all
this
the options.
list.
because some of them we may want to group.
Right. You may want to group them together. You may also, like I said,
what does that mean?
as a singular
Like
alternate.
that cowl thing she
Yeah.
was talking about and,
And the abatement of the unoccupied space.
no, the abatement of the unoccupied space, I think he's saying that should be all.
I think
so.
that wants to be on
But
its own because
Say the windows in the gym.
Oh, and the VCT.
yeah,
Something like that,
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
may want to be grouped together.
okay.
And go ahead.
What is the existing flooring, Jim? Is it-
It's no,
No, it's,
VCT.
I know.
It very likely is
It's mostly-
asbestos
Yeah,
tile,
because they're 9
if
by
I remember
9s.
correctly.
They're 9 by 9s.
I know the cafeteria definitely is, so I
It's
think
Yeah,
the
yeah,
gym
it
is. So it's got to come out regardless. Folding partitions in your multi-purpose room and meeting room. And that's a question of, you can kind of approach that one of two ways. My recommendation to you would be that if you were to make this an alternate, I think you still want the structural support, reinforcement, to be part of the base project so that you have it so you can do it in the future. The partitions on their own though, and it's a question of, do we put both of them in the alternate, or we could have them be two separate alternates potentially?
Say that again. Well,
So you have folding partitions.
Yep.
Part of that is we've got structural reinforcement because they hang. So we've got to reinforce above. My recommendation to you would be, if you ever think that you're going to put them in the future, that it makes sense. This is kind of the two ways you can approach it. You can either put in the cost and have the cost carried to do base bid, the structural reinforcement, or you can just have the structural reinforcement and the folding partition be part of the alternate. That way, you're either in or you're out.
And that's just for the meeting rooms, or is that also for the common areas?
It's for the meeting rooms and it's for the cafeteria. And that all together, if we include the structure, is almost $80,000. So it's a
Just the-
hefty.
Just the
chunk of-
partition, or you talk about
The
I missed
structure.
something. Just the structure is 80?
No, the structure and the partitions
Oh.
together.
Okay.
And
The structure itself is only about 8,000 on its own.
what about breaking it out though between partitions in the cafeteria and partitions in the?
That's why I'm saying potentially you could, if you want them to be alternates, or one of them maybe is an alternate and the other one isn't,
I see.
that's something we can talk about. Or one of them is one alternate and one of them is another alternate, and you prioritize them so that if you have money, this one's prioritized higher
Okay.
than the other. So this is where, to Kevin's point, this likely makes sense as let's lay it all out there and see what makes the most sense and how we want to parse it out. Okay. Tile in the bathrooms and how we approach the wall finish there. That was a huge chunk of money, granted. I talked with our interior designer. She said the numbers in there aren't completely insane, but they are high. That could also be something where we just adopt a different approach and put that in our base anyways. So that's something to talk. But if we pull that out on its own from the estimate, that was about 100,000 on its own, which I agree is a huge amount just for tile. One of the items that I got from the abatement consultant was that there is asbestos piping in the tunnel areas. There are areas which we are not actually doing work, i.e. more so on the unoccupied 1941 portion of the building, where it would be just, as they put it, sealed and isolated, and we don't abate it.
Mm.
Which there would be a savings associated with doing that.
And that's different than,
Yes, it's a whole other animal.
Are we taking all that pipe out though?
On the side we're renovating, yes. But there's areas on the other side of the building that we're not into. So it's another way to peel it back. I don't know if we want to get into that because what information they gave me, it sounds like it's a hard to quantify number.
so you're saying that if we decide to abate and do the windows in the unoccupied portion, this asbestos piping is different. It's an addition to abating.
I don't think so because we carried this when I reviewed that total number, the 1.2.
So it's
We
inclusive
carried
of
this.
the other numbers.
So this would have to be coordinated with the other one to peel it out and have a separate
Mm.
piece.
So it's already included that tunnel with the piping in it.
Yes.
If we
Abate.
abate the whole
Abate
building
the whole building.
for 1.2 million. Which is what the select board said they wanted to go,
I
To
would,
include.
but
that, I am of, you do it, get it over with. Because you don't know what's gonna come down the road at you. You
I
just never know.
agree, but
Tend to agree, but.
Yeah, and I
if 1.2 million, if a number of 1.2 million is gonna, if you can get it past that town meeting at, taking out that 1.2 million, which drops the number down to 5 million that you're asking for, that's a huge amount.
Yeah.
I agree.
But you're right, are we ever gonna then abate that part of the building?
It's
Right.
gonna be
Right.
historically down the road. it's
We
gonna
don't
cost
do that.
More and more.
Exactly.
Which is why we're in the position we're in now.
I know that.
And then you're talking about sealing it off from
Well-
potential employees.
Right.
Are we talking about, you know how he says this is an alternate?
So we made, once we get all the alternates before us and we have ideas of what they're gonna cost, that, then we'll prioritize them.
Yeah.
That, we would probably agree that that would probably be one of the first things we'd wanna prioritize,
Right.
getting it done versus putting in.
Right.
Further on.
support.
Right. In time. Yeah. No, and I would agree with you because I've seen it, and I know Neil, you've likely seen it as much as I have. Anytime you kick the can, particularly on something like that,
It doesn't get done.
Yes,
Well,
it doesn't get done.
Or it doesn't get done, or it gets done piecemeal.
Well,
And
exactly.
if
And it
prohibits
costs
you from
more
doing
in the
smaller
long
projects.
run.
Right.
Let's take another piece of the building and do something else with it.
So,
We gotta spend another $1 million.
Right.
so as much
Half the
as,
Building, or a
Right.
quarter of the, what's left versus.
right, so as much as they've given this as an option to help partition that off and split that 1.2 up into smaller chunks, I don't think it makes sense because to your point, and as we've discussed before, doing it as part of this project, doing it now is probably the cheapest you're ever going to be able to do it, as opposed to its own individual independent project.
It's just,
If our numbers come in less.
Hopefully a lot
we've got-
less.
We've got some money to put towards it, then that may be a priority, then I
Yeah.
would agree, that's probably a higher priority.
yeah,
Yeah.
And you said we could probably reduce that 1.2 million by less windows as well.
Well, and that's the other approach we can take is if you want with that piece, that alternate, we can develop that further to say we want to, when you do this alternate, we want you to replace the windows in this way, i.e. that same 30% reduction, which we could get this lower by doing that.
Just so I'm clear, we're talking about the addition second half, right?
Yep.
The one we're talking about, and you're talking about this would be, to say, I agree with like doing the whole thing like you guys said, but he's suggesting that the option would be on that section of subtracting.
Subtract
Yeah.
that out.
Okay, that's what you're talking about, that section.
right, there
Yes.
definitely has to be in
Yes.
the section we're occupying.
That's not in question. We're
Right.
abating and we're doing windows on our portion, all the renovated, fully renovated, let's call it, portion of the building. There's no way we can approach that as an alternate. 'Cause
Right.
You don't have a project if you don't do it.
Okay, you have any other alternates or at this point, we just have to
That's
think about
that's what I've got, and I'll send this through to you, Lynn, and then
Yeah.
you can distribute.
Yeah.
I've got rough values associated with it, which are just the trade costs pulled from the estimate, and then that gives you an order of magnitude.
So if we go to town meeting and you're doing your bid documents, regardless of what's happening in the next 4 weeks, you are doing your work and you are doing your work. So you won't have the bid documents out on by March 31st. They're going to go out in
March
June.
31st is roughly when they're going to the estimator for the next round.
Okay,
Of
so
course.
I thought you took June something that the bids are going to actually go out.
So yeah, no bids, yes. So essentially, time frame wise, to lay all the steps out there, we're gonna have it going to the estimator again, end of March. We'll get numbers back from them likely mid-April. Documents are done end of April. Go out to bid essentially beginning of May. We have our numbers and bid numbers essentially 2 weeks into June roughly.
6 weeks. Yeah.
So back that schedule up again, what was the first task was to,
First task I have is we're developing the documents further
Yeah.
into construction documents. Those are going to the cost estimator.
why are we doing that?
So that's part of normal process that we currently have built into the project to refine the numbers. And it's usually what happens is unfortunately, and granted, a lot of the time it goes up because of more detail, but hopefully we're able to keep it within where we currently have it and it's meant as a double check of all the assumptions we're making that from a numerical standpoint, the same person who did the first round of estimating will be doing this one. They'll have all the notes and all of the things we've discussed so far. And it's a way to, just as a check of where we headed.
So March 31st comes and it passes at town meeting. And then May 19th, we have the debt exclusion vote. You are in the sending your bids out at the same time. We're gonna have our debt exclusion vote.
Yeah.
Debt exclusion vote says, doesn't pass.
Mm-hmm.
We still get those bid numbers.
At that point, would we cancel it?
But
Oh. So we never actually get numbers to see how close
Yeah.
or how low or how much higher it would have gone.
they're gonna know. Bidders are gonna know.
Yeah, they'll likely
Oh.
run.
And, okay, so what if you're doing your project and on March 31st, it doesn't pass town meeting? We don't go out to bid.
That's why,
I would
why are we wasting time with estimating? Why don't we get this out on the street quicker?
It's not gonna save any time. They're not gonna put their pens down and wait.
Yeah, we're still working while it's with the estimator.
Pardon me?
We're still working while it's with the estimator. We're not pausing.
We're just you're just, yeah.
We're getting them as far as we can get by the end of May, and then we're still working while
So
it's with them.
When we talked last week, we were under the impression that we were gonna have updated numbers to go to town meetings. And now it sounds like we are not.
We won't unless town meeting is in,
Or later.
we did this, the June town meeting, which would be the second second Monday in June.
I would wait then, unfortunately.
Well, no, I don't think that's the way it's going. I don't think, obviously, I think it's gonna be March 31st, but we're not gonna have, that was part of the conversation with the select board. We're not gonna have exact numbers, because the bids aren't going out from their 12 weeks, because that's how the project goes. That's not our project, that's how every project goes. It takes time, it takes 6 weeks for the bids to come back, so on and so forth.
Well, and that was
So
part
that's
of
why
the,
Chris stood up at the town meeting and said, I think that we need to come in high and deduct,
right.
as opposed to, I think one of the select board was saying, go in low and add, right?
Yeah, so my experience with that, having run an estimating division for a general contractor, is that when you do deductive alternates, you are likely to get less back than if you require the contractor to add in the alternate, right? So, in other words, if I was bidding the job, right? I'm gonna look at it and say, okay, I've got 16 months of overhead in the job, or 10 months or 9 months or whatever the duration is. If I take out a little bit of work, I'm still gonna be there 9 months. So I'm not gonna put any overhead or profit on the deduction. I'm just gonna give you the deduct of what the actual cost is. And that's probably being generous. Because I'm also gonna look at it and go,
You're
we're
right.
gonna give them 75 cents on the dollar and think we're giving them a better deal than our competition, right?
Mhm.
Alternatively, if you look at an additive alternate, you're like, okay, what I had in there, I'm gonna add to it maybe just the difference in cost. Maybe I'm gonna add the whole cost, but not provide a credit. But it's very unlikely that I'm gonna add overhead and profit to an additive alternate.
Mhm.
I've been in the unfortunate situation and followed the direction of others when doing so, to put overhead and profit on an alternate and lost the job because of an additive.
Mhm.
And I swore I would never make a mistake again. So just different perspectives, different thought processes. And I don't think we have to make that decision right away. That in deference to Tim, we need to give him clear direction on whether they're going to be additive or deductive, because he has to structure his documents accordingly. But I don't think that's a decision we have to make now.
No, there's at least a couple weeks before we get to it. I need to have at least an indication of which ones you want to pursue. And then the add deduct question is maybe a few more weeks beyond that where we kind of have to lock it in.
They still have to be accepted the same way, though.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's state law.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Mhm.
So, any other business? I have been approached by Dennis Hool with a suggestion that our committee should be doing some sort of public hearing or public information session, not a public hearing, but a public informational session before town meeting to quell some of the rumors and speculation that's going on in town. I think that's a great idea.
I don't
Since-
think, I don't think it can hurt.
I-
But
I don't think it can hurt either, but I
have
don't,
the opportunity to watch these or come to these meetings as well. But
Mhm.
to hold one specifically, I don't see where it could hurt.
we did that in the beginning. We did that.
Yeah, we did do it.
We did that in the beginning to explain what we were doing. I don't know, if there's any qualifications. If it's not a public hearing, it'd be an informational session. So I don't think there's any timeframes that we notice has to be out there for 7 days. I don't know. I can talk to Kathy tomorrow. It's just finding a date to do it.
In a place.
Yeah.
It won't be in the. You never know who's gonna show up. Either a bunch of people can show up.
Right. Yeah, it's probably at least have to be here.
Like last time it was, I didn't realize how many people showed up last time.
It was full.
It was.
Well, I guess until I know for sure that the town meeting's gonna be the 31st, Dale, have you heard anything on that?
I have not.
So I'll come in tomorrow. Is Ira gonna be in tomorrow?
I believe so.
So I'll find out about that. When's the next select board meeting?
Monday. I think they're doing the 10th and 17th.
Yep, I believe you're
I
right.
think that's what I heard.
Yep.
Definitely the 10th, but I thought back to that.
So,
Technically, we do it as long as you're not having.
they have to sign a warrant on the 10th, 17th. They, have to sign it next week to have a meeting on the 31st, so.
Where we're saying informational wise, maybe we could do Monday, the 24th, if they're not having a select board meeting that day.
Oh, I see, in between the,
You know, like a week before, people can come check out what we have. and-
Well,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be Monday either.
yeah,
I'm
but
just-
that week, but yeah. Yeah,
Preferably not.
there's a lot of meetings.
What's that?
There's a lot of meetings on Monday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever, we'll just have to.
so the week of
Week of-
March 24th.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to,
What do we want here?
I was gonna say, right, is that another one where you want the OPM and the designer here? At that informational session?
I think it would make sense.
It's possible, yeah, they're just, they
If
can
it
answer
works.
questions.
For you.
Yep.
so is there,
That'd be an ideal scenario.
but also would be a night meeting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So is there a particular night that you guys are available of that week? Fully knowing that you might be coming back on Monday, if Monday, the 31st for town meeting.
And the end of the month for me is typically much more forgiving than the beginning. Usually the first 2 weeks of the month are wrapped with committee meetings to get invoices approved and whatever else. So if it's the third or fourth week in a month, it's usually.
And that's the fourth week, 24th, the
Yeah.
28th is the fourth week. So you're pretty flexible any day.
Yeah, pretty much the only day that I typically have issues are Mondays.
Okay.
So as long as we avoid that.
Well,
Probably.
and I would probably say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, not a Friday, obviously.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
probably a Tuesday or Wednesday,
I
I
can
guess.
tell you that I set every Tuesday afternoon aside for the rest of the month of March. Just because I think we're gonna.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Right, so if we,
Oh.
if we could do it on a Tuesday, like I've already got it blocked off.
Yeah.
If not, I can.
Well, we'd probably meet as a committee on Tuesday and then have the meeting,
I can.
the info session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flow
Okay.
right into it.
Yeah.
That'd be a long one.
That's the
Okay.
25th?
So we're looking at the 25th.
25th.
Want Steve to be here, Natalie,
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
This is Monday.
and address anything that comes up.
No, it's Tuesday, 24th on Monday.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that would be a good
Steve-
idea.
And also, I need to know, and I just talked to Ira about this, we need to get the finance committee involved at some point.
That just popped in my head as well, I was thinking
When does.
the same thing for the finance.
I don't know.
Well, invite them to the meeting.
Should we have a meeting with them prior to?
Mm-hmm. At some point, we need to invite him to a meeting and let him know what we're doing. Um,
Well, I think they're aware of what we're doing. I mean, if they show up at this meeting that we're having, formally invite them. Somebody, if they don't all show, at least somebody can take the message back.
okay.
I don't know if we want to meet with them prior to the big meeting.
Well, I'll talk to them. I'll call the chair and see how he wants to handle it.
Yeah. So we have a better understanding of their stance.
Mm-hmm. Because they have to agree or.
Exactly.
Hey,
But it would be good too if we could have that brochure kind of ready, maybe for the 20th.
I was thinking the same thing.
That's what's that.
Yeah, that way it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be good, yeah.
can we approve the 224 minutes you have in front of you?
Make a motion to approve these minutes.
Sorry.
That's just,
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
All right, and the last bit of business is the, any update on the rural development grant? One-stop application, anything, what's going on with that? Nothing.
I started filling out the paperwork so I can show it to Crystal so she sees what it looks like.
Because she has to sign it as, or a select board person has to sign it.
Yes.
Okay,
And then I went out on calls.
okay, but you're working on it.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't have to be in until mid. Isn't it March?
March.
Which we're in March.
end of the month.
It's at the end of the month.
Okay. Well, let me know if you need help on that. I'll help you. And then, update on the COA assessment. Did you talk to Mitch?
Yep.
And he said he would come out and do it? And that's Colebrook Realty?
No,
What did I think of that?
It's a separate.
it's a separate
Okay, so Mitch, what's his last name?
lot.
Okay.
And I did have a brief conversation with the interim TA and let him, asked if it was okay, and he had no
Yeah.
problem with it, so.
So at some point he'll come out and he's
Yeah,
gonna
so
work
we're
with
looking
you?
probably, he wants me to be here, so Thursday or Friday.
Oh, great.
Which would be great if we could have a number before the informational session.
Right.
I think I can read my writing.
I was wondering that.
I figure it out by the time I do minutes.
So what he'll provide us with is a market assessment. not
Okay.
A bank
Right.
appraisal.
Right.
Okay.
Perfect. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, we didn't do what are we meeting next?
Oh, that's an agree.
Well, I
Well-
got the subcommittee's meeting tomorrow.
Right.
Obviously, we should probably meet at least Tuesday. I know that
The
you're
11th?
Yeah, I won't be here.
March 11th, we'll meet.
Here or there.
Uh,
Are we inviting anybody to the meeting?
you mean like,
Outside.
I'm thinking, Ann Goby?
Hmm.
For the rural grant?
And ask if she wants to come. Or she sends a rep.
I mean, I don't know, I guess it depends on how much we have to get done
Okay.
and how much of the alts.
Why don't you see what development, maybe she can zoom in
Okay.
if you want.
For the March 11th meeting?
Or maybe we invite her after the grant's been submitted and say, hey, we did it. I don't know.
If there's any question, you may want her involved ahead of
That's what I
time.
was gonna
Right,
say.
as you
Well, that was my
what we're
next
submitting
thing.
is just that we're not submitting the grant, we're just submitting interest.
Well, still, I mean,
There's nothing to write on, honestly. You click here, click there, click there. I need a name and a signature. And then a story of why we're applying, like for
Okay,
the building and what we're doing for the building.
And we've talked to her about that already.
Yep.
and we've already got something that you could submit.
500 words, yes.
Okay.
So,
It said 500. We're like, okay.
500 words?
Yeah.
Or less.
But yeah, that's basically what it is. That's why I just need permission before I do everything. That's why I'm waiting.
The friends.
She was right down the street from me. Come on over. We'll go walk over,
okay, we can
knock
have,
on her door.
the safety complex is booked, so we'll have it here.
Okay.
If you want 4:30, you could have it at safety complex, but
Oh, well, what time do we normally have these at? 4:30 or 4?
4:30 if in person for me, or 4 o'clock if you do it virtual.
4:30.
4:30 will,
Safety
So it's more a question of, do you want to see me in person?
4:30 for sure, safety complex.
On the 11th?
Safety complex or here? I thought you said here.
No, it can be here. He said at 4, if we do it at 4:30.
we can have it at the safety complex.
That's what I meant.
Right.
Boy, what's coming out of my mouth? I don't know.
I know what.
I'm sorry, on the 11th?
Yes.
Yes, Tuesday,
Yeah.
March 11th,
Because I'm-
4:30.
Or
Again.
You're on? Oh, okay,
It's
okay.
booked.
And,
booked.
and you'll
Oh,
have
no.
more solidified numbers for those adults or the ducks?
I will have this to you. I'll probably email it to you tomorrow.
So then we can
And then we
discuss it
can
at the next
discuss
meeting.
it at the next meeting. Yes.
And then we can discuss whatever pamphlet you guys put together.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And,
By the 11th?
Yep.
Alrighty then.
and then,
Okay. That's why I asked for doing it on the 10th.
anything else we need to discuss?
Tomorrow night's meeting is still virtual, right?
Tomorrow's
Yes,
virtual.
Virtual.
And that is the,
With the
engineering.
engineers, just to review building systems.
Okay. Sounds fascinating.
I'm actually excited about that part.
All right, so now we actually are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I do think one more item, doesn't have to be anytime soon. It may want to fall 2 or 3 weeks out. Whether I'm bringing finishes, but I think I may want to try to bring our interior
Okay.
designer with me
Okay.
so we can talk finishes
Okay.
at some point.
I mean, that could be a subcommittee, but I mean, our committee is small enough that the whole committee.
Yeah, whether that's a subcommittee or that's a full committee.
Hey, should be quick.
It should be fairly quick, which
What'd you
is
say?
I said resilient tile.
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have a ton of finishes, so she may just say, "Here you go," and then I'll present it to you guys.
Okay.
But I do want to make sure you know we'll be able to have a little bit of fun at some point with that.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're done.